All 4 players start by taking turns putting a land onto the field. Tom plays Stomping Ground, Extra plays a Depth-Cap Glade, Sam plays a Frostboil Snarl, and John plays a Hinterland Harbor. The game then starts for real. Tom then takes his second turn, playing a Command Tower, and tapping 2 to cast an Arcane Signet. He then passes to Extra. Extra plays a Tainted Woods, followed by a Farseek, grabbing a tapped Underground Mortuary, which surveils a card to the graveyard. Sam plays a Battlefield Forge, then casts a Felwar Stone before passing. John plays an Darkar Wastes, and finishes the Ramping Quartet with a Gyre Sage, and a pass back to Tom. Tom plays a Forest, then casts his commander, Bello, Bard of the Bramble. Once in play, he passes. Extra misses his 3rd land drop and casts Bastion of Remembrance, which makes a human soldier. With no mana to spare, he passes to Sam. Sam plays a Plains, and then impacts Tremors. He then passes, suspiciously leaving up 2 mana. John first casts Bristly Bill, Spy Sower, triggering Sage to evolve and gain a counter. He plays a Rejuvenating Springs, triggering Bill to give Sage another counter, before finishing off the turn with a Thrumming Bird. Tom plays a Forest, followed by Magmatic Galleon, killing Gyre Sage on ETB and making a treasure due to the overkill. Thanks to Bello's ability, he is able to send Galleon at Sam and Bello at Extra. Bello triggers on the Galleon damage, allowing him to draw a card before handing the turn over to Extra. Extra plays a Forest, then casts his commander, Hazel, of the Rootbloom, who triggers on EOT to make another human. After the trigger resolves, Sam flashes in White Mane Lion, triggering Tremors to deal 1 to each opponent, and the Lion to return itself back to hand. Sam plays a Glacial Fortress, and casts his own commander, Zinnia, Valley's Voice. Tremors triggers, dealing 1, before passing once again with the pesky 2 mana open. John misses his land drop, so his only option is to cast Basking Broodscale and attack Tom with both his creatures to lay off some steam. Once the damage is dealt, he passes back to Tom. Tom plays a Mountain, followed by Mirror March. Not wanting any shenanigans, John pays 1 life and responds with a Swords to Plowshares on Bello, giving Tom 3 life. Having his master plan thwarted, Tom passes the turn. Extra first casts Parallel Lives, then activates Hazel, paying 2 life and tapping 2 humans to make 2 black mana, which he uses to cast Bitter Blossom. In his end step, Hazel triggers, making 2 humans, followed by Sam, casting White Mane Lion again, triggering Tremors, and returning itself to hand. Sam plays a Command Tower, and decides to cast a Nesting Dovehawk with Offspring, giving himself a 1/1 copy, triggering Dovehawk to get a counter, and Tremors to deal 2. At the start of combat, both Dovehawk trigger, making 2 more copies, while giving all prior Dovehawk counters, and with the addition of 2 more creatures, Tremors also deals 2 more damage. Sam then attacks Extra with Zinnia, and in his second main, he convokes in Benny Brack's Zoologist, triggering Tremors a final time. He then passes, drawing a card thanks to Benny. John first casts Rishkar, Pima Renegade, giving a counter to Bill and Broodscale. This triggers Broodscale to make a spawn before sending Thrumming Bird at Sam, triggering its effect to proliferate and make another spawn with Broodscale. After combat, he casts Nature's Lore, searching for an untapped Temple Garden, paying 2 life, while triggering Bill to give Broodscale a counter and make a spawn. Finally, he casts Requisition Raid, targeting Felwar Stone, Impact Tremors, and himself. The first two are destroyed, and Broodscale makes yet another spawn due to the latter. Once all is said and done, the turn goes back to Tom. Tom plays a mountain, then casts Fanatic of Ronus, triggering Mirror to make 2 hasty copies. He then recasts his commander, Bello, Bard of the Brambles, followed by Nylea, God of the Hunt, and Unnatural Growth, triggering Mirror and getting a total of 0 copies, to the relief of the rest of the table. Once combat begins, Growth triggers, doubling his team's stats, allowing Tom to go for a massive all-out attack at Sam. Bello then triggers 4 times, drawing 4 cards, before passing the turn. On Extra's upkeep, Bitter Blossom triggers, losing 1 life, and making 2 fairies. He attacks Sam with 2 humans, having 1 blocked by Benny. The human dying causes Bastion to trigger, draining each opponent for 1. In his second main, he casts Deadly Dispute, sacrificing the tapped human, triggering Bastion to take out Sam. Dispute then resolves, drawing 2, and making 2 treasures. Next he casts Insidious Roots, followed by Feed the Swarm on Mirror, before going to his end step, where he makes 2 more fairies with Hazel. John finally casts his commander, Miss Bumbleflower, paying 1 life in the process. He casts Hopeful Initiate, triggering Bumbleflower, targeting Tom, to give him a card, and Broodscale to get a counter plus flying. Having gained the counter, Broodscale triggers, making a spawn. He casts Hard Bristle Bandit, again triggering Bumbleflower on the same targets, this time drawing 2 himself, before making a spawn with Broodscale. To finish up, John sends his Thunderbird at Tom, triggering his effect to proliferate and make a spawn, before playing a Port Town, revealing an island, and passing the turn, forgetting about the build trigger. Tom plays the forest. He then follows up with a flurry of spells, those being Wild Growth on a Forest, Talisman of Impulse, Frontier Siege on Cons, and 3-fold Thunderhulk. With the Thunderhulk still on the stack, Extra activates Hazel, paying 2 and tapping 4 fairies to make 4 green in order to cast Beast Within on Bello. In response to this, Tom uses Bello to crew Galleon before sending him to the command zone. Thunderhulk finally enters, bringing along 3 servos. When Tom tries to go to combat, John is quick to respond, activating Initiate on Growth, making sure his stats are in check. Finally, being allowed to attack, Tom sends Galleon at John, and passes. On Extra's upkeep, Bitter Blossom triggers, losing 1 life, and making 2 fairies. He plays a forest for turn, and casts a Nut Collector, before going to his end step, making 2 more fairies with Hazel. John plays an Overgrown Farmland, triggering Bill to give Broodscale a counter, and make a spawn, followed by yet another Thrumming-Bird attack at Tom. Thrumming-Bird triggers once again, proliferating, and making a spawn with Broodscale. After that, he passes. In Tom's first main, Siege triggers, adding 2 green. He plays a mountain, and recasts his commander, Bello, Bard of Brambles. In response, John activates Initiate to destroy Thunderhulk before it becomes indestructible. Tom then casts Leyline of Combustion, followed by a Nautiloid ship, exiling his own graveyard. He then sends the ship at John, and the rest of the beefy creatures at Extra. Due to Trample, Extra blocks with 4 fairies on Siege, 4 fairies on Leyline, and 2 humans on Nylea. But before damage is dealt, John once again steps in, activating Initiate to destroy John's Bastion. After damage, Bello triggers 3 times, alongside the ship returning Thunderhulk, who makes 7 servos as it enters. In his second main, Siege once again triggers to make 2 green, which are used to cast Thran Dynamo. With no further plays, Tom passes, with John once again activating Initiate, this time destroying Bitter Blossom. On Extra's upkeep, Collector triggers making 2 squirrels. He plays a forest, then casts Tendershoot Dryad, and goes to Zen Step, making 4 more squirrels with Hazel. Once in play, John activates Bill to double his counters, triggering Broodscale to make a spawn as a bonus. John first casts Hardened Scales, triggering Bumbleflower targeting Tom to give him a card, and Broodscale to get a counter plus flying. Bandit untaps due to a crime being committed, and Broodscale makes a spawn. Next he casts the Council of 4, again triggering Bumbleflower on Tom and Bill, with an additional draw 2 for John. He plays a forest, triggering Bill on Broodscale, before finally deciding to finish things up, sending Bill at Extra and Broodscale plus Thrumming-Bird at Tom. In order to make sure nobody survives, he activates Bill to double his counters, giving Tom and Extra a decisive blow and taking home the victory.